So how did you like that Arctic blast polar vortex? Did you survive? Well, really makes a guy think, especially when the power goes out, which is a problem we had. So let's talk about defining your weak points for surviving minus 54 degrees Celsius.
Well, it's so damn cold out here, the wind'll cut you half in two. I ain't kidding now, my old plow is frozen to my mule. I've been living on ice-cold rainbow stew.
So during extreme cold temperatures, it's important to figure out your weak points because the wood stove is just a rockin', plus the natural gas furnace, 80,000 BTU furnace we have kicks in minus 50 at night. Minus 50 Celsius is something else. That is death. For retrofitting your buildings, number one, make your windows better. So I did a video on my double windows. If you haven't seen that, go check it out, or put in new windows in your house. That's always your weakest point. Another thing you can do is blow in additional attic insulation. So all of my buildings, the greenhouse is R60, the shop and the house are R80 blow-in insulation. So that is blow-in insulation 30 inches thick of like a quilt in the attic. Anything after, I believe it's R60 to R80 is kind of redundant. So max out your insulation. That's your best bang for the buck. So in the greenhouse here, the first winter, I just had one set of cheap used garden doors on the outside, but I put a second set that's in line with the vapor barrier. So I have literally a 8-inch air gap in between two double pane systems here. That is a big thing. So if you have a set of patio doors, you can buy another set and put it in to try to survive minus 50 Celsius. Overhead doors are the worst. That is definitely a weak point. So I'm going to do a double overhead door system. Actually, my barn is designed to have a sliding double barn door. It has enough room for the barn doors to slide, and then on the inside, an overhead door. So that gives an air gap plus a double insulated door. Here, I want to do the same thing. You can see the bottom, the ice buildup. I have an air line running so out there, it's minus 50, and in the greenhouse, naturally by the sun, it is plus 30 Celsius. No additional heat during the day, even in minus 50. So there's an 80 degrees Celsius natural temperature differential that's damn near freezing to boiling. If you don't seal up your overhead doors really good, that's where you get all of the cold air sneaking in. Plus, this is probably only an R16, a good overhead door. I think that's the best that they make. These overhead doors are a definite weak point in a high efficient building. So I've been meaning for years to make some sort of accordion style double door with glass on it, because this one's on the south side. So essentially, if I can seal up the glass bifold door, then in the daytime in minus 50, I can open up this massive overhead door, let the sun come in, and then at night close it up. One thing I wish I did on the greenhouse was modeled my south design off of the Chinese style design. Now, I like my design better with the super insulation up for our location on the planet, but I could have increased the framing and had a roller blanket in between a double frame system and rolled down an insulating blanket. That would save me a lot of grief. Another very important thing, furnaces now are so bloody efficient, 96% efficient. Because they're so efficient, they don't exhaust a lot of heat. There's an intake and an exhaust for these that go outside. Now, you're supposed to have the exhaust pointing away from the intake. So on your house, every evening, go out and make sure, bang it with a little thing, not hard enough to break the PVC, but the intake and the exhaust. The exhaust is going to ice up. You'll have a massive icicle probably if that plugs up. That is not good. That'll shut off your furnace. And the intake also will frost up on these new high efficient furnaces. So the old furnaces, they give off enough heat that you don't have that big of an issue. They will shut down while you're sleeping. The cotton-headed nitty muggins running Canada right now wants to switch everybody to electric heat pumps. Did you know that electric heat pumps do not work when it's colder than minus 25 degrees Celsius.
What do you say?
They don't work in Alberta. We get below minus 25.
So when it's over twice as cold, your electric heat pump's not going to work.
Well, as a government that is focused on evidence and data, switch to electric heat pumps.
I am designing my barn specifically to survive minus 50 Celsius with a whole wall of south triple pane windows with a good R value. And then this whole building's getting R42, keeping animals in here out of the wind with the sun on sunny days, which we mostly have heating up the barn, plus the heat off of the animals. Animals give off heat. I'm hoping that I can keep water from freezing, water bowls from even freezing in minus 50 Celsius. It's going to be close. Maybe not minus 50, maybe minus 30. Either way, you have to give your animals fresh water all the time and keep them out of the wind. Good quality feed. Make sure all of your animals have lots of feed because that's energy for their bodies to stay warm. So if you don't usually give them oats or some type of grain, it's a good time to give them grain so they can keep their bodies warm. Always make sure that your animals have lots and lots of bedding. Pigs will burrow down in there. Goats will just cuddle up in there. Also, make sure you have insulated tarps is another great thing to help keep any of the wind and elements off of them. And again, the best quality feed that you can get. So again, calories in the form of any animal feed whatsoever is energy for them to stay warm. It's amazing what they can survive, those poor animals in this frozen hellscape, but give them the best chance they can with bedding and feed. Pigs give off a lot of heat. So the goats are huddled up to the pigs at night in bedding. The pigs also burrow down and make kind of an insulated thing for themselves. I've heard stories back in the day of small town hotels having pigs in the basement in the wintertime in the pioneer days to help heat the building. They give off so much heat. So this building is just out of the wind, no insulation, and the goats and pigs are surviving. But again, lots of water, lots of feed. Chicken coop. I have their door open just a little bit because I built an airtight building, give some fresh air in there. So I put it halfway open, but I do not allow them to come out. I stuffed it with straw as well, and they don't want to go outside in this. And in this, it's lots of feed, lots of fresh water, and you're not going to get eggs. They're not going to lay. They're putting 100% of their effort into not freezing to death. When I have my big barn done, it's going to be different because the temperature is going to be barely freezing, even in minus 50 with the mixed animal concept that I have, plus a high efficient structure. So build your infrastructure very good, and then you don't have ongoing problems and costs like heating. So wood stove. There's a bunch of things that you need to do. You need to get the chimney sweeping equipment and make sure that that's done every year if you use your wood stove a lot, or every other year. Chimney sweep, take apart the chimney so you don't have a chimney fire. Make sure your wood stoves are in good working condition. Make sure your wood is readily available. So I use these firewood crates. I can move them around with a tractor or skid steer, move them to whatever wood stove that I want. And it's handy for me to just go outside close to this greenhouse and shop door. So grab a few pieces of wood, make sure your wood's well seasoned, make sure you bloody well have firewood. For some of your vehicles that aren't lucky enough to have a place inside in a heated area, make sure you have battery maintainers on your battery. Minus 50 will be a battery killer, but if you keep them topped off, your batteries will be okay. Oh yeah, and electric cars don't work. Teslas don't work, but that should just be common sense and go without saying. You'll get a fraction of the range and it takes twice as much electricity to charge them. Plus you have to sit in your car and freeze to death, or you have to run it with the heater. So electric cars don't work where we live. I do have an electric golf cart, but I take it outside temporarily to bring feed and water to animals and then bring it back in really quick. Otherwise the batteries will be completely screwed and not work at all. So this has to be in a heated building. Again, if you can do it, just create the infrastructure to keep your precious, expensive equipment inside. Everything just breaks in minus 50 Celsius. Also, consider getting a breed of dog that isn't a sissy dog. Bruno here refuses to come inside during the day in this polar vortex Arctic blast. He is loving it. He won't go inside. I make him come inside at night because I figure he's going to die, but he loves it. Also, kind of goes without saying, make sure you have lots of winter gear. Lots. Big snow boots, long johns, ski pants, good mitts, light mitts, even for putting in those mitts so you can work in light mitts, good headgear, and cover any part of skin. I still try to go for a walk up and down the gate. I have to cover everything, and it still feels like my eyeballs are freezing. Dress for the occasion. If you have a greenhouse, do not use any exterior doors. Make sure you have an air hatch. So I'm in my shop, and I can access the greenhouse, because if I open the doors to outside, that flash of frozen air might kill all of my tropical plants and things. If you're building a house in frigid temperatures like this, put a airlock foyer in it if you have the room and are doing a bigger house that's like an airlock. Think about like you're setting up with Elon Musk a habitat for Mars, because it's colder in Saskatchewan than it is on Mars right now. And I've got my fingers crossed that paying a carbon tax, plant food tax to lesser men is going to fix this, because minus 54 is no joke. Please, 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 global warming. And in the extreme cold in Alberta, Canada, they almost ran out of electricity production, probably all those electric vehicles that don't work here. So Saskatchewan was burning coal and natural gas and feeding Alberta hundreds of megawatts. I'll maybe flash the link here. You can thank Saskatchewan for saving your butts. A lot of newcomers to Canada actually go from underground parking to underground parking. I'm pretty sure don't even own a winter jacket. If you're from another country, new to Canada, just know that we live very close to nature, and nature is a killer with these killer temperatures. At least get a winter coat and some frickin' boots. Let me know what you do. If you have any extra tips for anybody, put it in the comments. And happy minus 50. Take care.
Well, it's so damn cold out here, the wind'll cut you half in two. I ain't kidding now, my old plow is frozen to my mule.